stage, an ecosystem that said sports is not our priority. He was instrumental in changing that mindset. He helped create champions like Saina Nehwal, PV Sindhu, Kidambi Shrikant, HS Pranoy, and so many more. Pullela Gopichand joins us on the show, the man who made India a badminton superpower. But he now says that kids should not go into sports unless they are from rich backgrounds. And I was a little taken aback, a little surprised, because the last time when I met Gopi, it seemed like he wanted everybody to get into sports. So what has made him change his mind? And I know if there's one single person in this country who knows all the aspects of what it takes to win a medal, what it takes to become a champion, it's Gopi. Every challenge, financial, infrastructure, coaching, fitness, sports science, injuries. He knows how the system works in India. Gopi, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Meha. And yes, I think for a long time I've been somebody who's in advocating that everybody should play sport. Sport is supremely important for everybody. And for us as a country, I think it's very important that every kid plays sport. I wrote a big article in 2021 regarding the same in the Indian Express, and it actually showcased the need for us to redefine the word champion, because with the present ecosystem of saying the winner is the champion, we actually reduce the number of people actually benefiting out of sport, and why it's important for everyone. But I guess the headline made the news, and in some ways I'm okay with this. Looking back, I think I'm okay with the headline, because at least it's got people talking. Because for me, I think what we've done today in the last few years is made sport more aspiring. We've had champions who've inspired people to take up sport. Our Prime Minister meeting athletes and actually showing a concern for them has made a lot of us take up sport. Infrastructure is better. Schemes like Kelo India, Fit India, Top Scheme, I think all of them have contributed to the entry into sport, aspirational entry into sport, accessible with a lot more infrastructure. All I'm saying is we need to look at the exit possibilities. Okay. Because what is given in sport is the number of people who succeed will be a very small number. And when the number is so small, we need to ensure that the people who are playing sport figure out a good exit strategy for them. For us to produce these champions, for each Neeraj who's a champion, we'll need thousands of them to play at the grassroots level. For every Saina and a Sindhu to be there, for every Satvik and a Chirag to be there, for every Manu Bakar to be there, I think it's very important that thousands of people take up the sport. And I'm saying if thousands take up the sport and very few make it to the top, what about the rest of them? We need to ensure that they're hand holding them. And various other strategies, but I would really want us to think about the entire lot of them, not just the 0.1 or 0.3% of the Olympic medalists, or maybe the 1% of the successful names, or maybe 4-5% of the other lot. But a large number we don't cater to, and that's my very basic point.
100%. Now, you've already said that we have an ecosystem, thanks to you, OGQ, Go Sports, government, they've taken initiative, TOPS, that's been created to find potential medal winners, people who you think, or kids who you think are likely to do well, to train them, give them facilities, infrastructure, all of that. But when it comes to giving them jobs, when it comes to securing their future, we need to do much more. There is no help. And that's the battle cry really from you, right?
Yeah, exactly. What's happened is when I was playing, or maybe in the 90s and early part of 2000s, the number of people who were playing sport was very limited. And the jobs we would get were also okay, because when I was a junior national champion, I ended up with a job in Tata Steel. When I was not even the national number one, I got an officer job in Indian Oil. Those jobs have dried up. And correspondingly, the number of people, if at my time were maybe 30, today it's literally gone up to a few thousands. And when the numbers have gone up so much, the number of people like domestic tournaments in India, we have under 15, 17 tournaments of 3,500 entries at national level. We have junior events, sub-junior events, and many events. Almost about 20, 30,000 people are playing the sport. And maybe a 50 or 100 of them will end up with jobs. But the rest of them, what happens to them? I'm not even advocating that we provide all of them jobs. I think it's impossible.
Yeah.
But my only point is this is a field, and everybody needs to understand that we are actually compromising on the academic side, being driven on the sporting side. And both academic careers and sporting careers go hand in hand. And when they actually go hand in hand and you're compromising being good at academics for being good at sport, you need some hand-holding to get them back if they don't succeed. And having known that a majority of them won't succeed, how is that we are not thinking of a strategy to exit them out properly? Given that the number of people who are playing and who are actually investing in sport makes them fantastic seed capital. They're beautiful people with determination, grit, hard work, time management, focus. All of these things are great qualities. Fighting, coming back from losses. All of these are phenomenal qualities for individuals, for our citizens. We need to capitalize on them. We need an exit strategy. If a person is coming out of 13 and he realizes that he is not world material, maybe the schools should handhold them. At 15, 16, the junior colleges should handhold them. At 18, 19, the universities should handhold them. Internationally, what happens is the university system, the school system is a lot more accommodative. Here, we are almost like our schools are saying, okay, either you're playing sport, you're playing academics, and we don't consider you too much. And I think somewhere down the line, we need to actually bridge this gap. And it's very important for India's sporting ecosystem that they sort the 1,000 out as well. And it's not good enough to give the crores and crores to the top one alone. It's important that to handhold the rest of them and have exit strategies for the ecosystem in totality.
So then my next question is, for the kids who are trying to play a sport professionally, do you really think they can balance their studies out with sports? I mean, they're going for tournaments, they are training X number of hours a day. Where do they get the time, the energy to focus on their studies and vice versa? Do you think that's possible, especially in this competitive world that we live in right now?
Well, I think it's becoming more and more difficult, but because I see under 13 standards in our country in many sports go up phenomenally high, and people are investing all their time in sports. So it's going to be very difficult to balance both academics. We need to find a solution. We need schools to think through. We need sporting bodies to think through and actually talk about it and balance both of them. And wherever, if suppose somebody is 13, 14 years old and somebody is say 16 years old, and if there is, if they've not gone to school all the time, maybe just give them extra tutoring, give them a year to catch the backlog, maybe give them a scholarship to figure this out. I don't know, I don't have all the answers, but I know that the best nations in the world do it a little better than us. And we first need to acknowledge that this is a situation which is happening. This is a problem which needs a solution. And it's also been created because of the growth, unprecedented growth of sport in the country in the last 10 odd years. And we need to go back and sort the issue out.
100%. In fact, I was when I was watching the Euros, Lamine Yamal, a teenager from Spain, he was seen doing his homework and taking those classes online during the tournament. And the next thing then takes me to academies. How can we make that an important part of academies where they're training, where studies are just as big a part as the sport that you're playing in academies? Is that something that they can look at, Gopi?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of things can happen. I don't I don't have all the answers, and I don't want to debate on what kind of a solution there is.
Yeah.
To be frank and honest, I think everybody needs to put their brain to it. We are working in silos. The education department thinks of education, the sports department thinks of sport, and the corporates are thinking of it in silo. The NGOs are thinking of the small percentage of people they're talking about. I think systemically this needs to be addressed, because unless we figure this out in the system, we will not produce champions continuously. I think once let us put a system in place where the grassroots scouting, the exit pathways, the champion future, even if you're a champion at say 30 years old, what do you do for the rest of your life? You're not skilled, and you have probably another 60, 50 years of your life left. What do you do then? So I think at every stage of the exit, we need a bit of hand-holding, we need a bit of mentoring, we probably need some education, we need some scholarships, we need some jobs. I think we need to just put together an entire strategy to ensure that how do kids who take up sport, if they fail, which they will, because the nature of sport is that a very small percentage will succeed in those terms, but the kids who play sport are mentally more resilient, they're more hardworking, they're more disciplined, they're more better off in every other field than people who are not. How do we channelize those energies back into their life so that they are successful in life, whether they're successful as an athlete or not?
Can I ask you something? I mean, I've met you more than a couple of times. We've had long conversations about sport in India and badminton. You come across as someone who's mild. You're not one of those individuals I see as dropping truth bombs and giving us a dose of reality. Something that you've seen over the last few years has obviously made you now want to take this up, because it's almost like, you know, the water's gone above, or it's trying to, I mean, it's getting above your head kind of a situation. What was the tipping point? Where did you think that, my goodness, something needs to be done, and why? How did you come to this?
No, Meha, 2021 is when this article is out.
Yeah.
And I've written in that we need a bottoms equivalent of the top scheme. That's the end, the conclusion of it is basically a bottoms equivalent of the top scheme, because we cannot have this kind of failure in sport and not people talk about it. Now it's 4 years since and no action has been taken, because it's not easy to take action. I also know that this is like I'm giving a problem and people are saying, Gopi, why are you not telling the solution? I'm saying it's a very tough ask for a solution like this, because we need the top brains to sit together, first acknowledge that this problem exists, and then I think it's possible, very, very possible, that we can actually find a good solution for it. And I think we just need to put, so it's like every day morning I go, I train, I'm up at 4 and 5 o'clock I'm in training, and I see in each batch, I know that out of the 20 kids whom I train, there will be 15 of them who probably won't make it to a very high level. And I'm saying, what is their future? And these are guys who have spent age 6 or 7 to age 20. They're like spent 14 years every day thinking that they're going to be the champion. And I'm telling them that, boss, you're going to be the champion. And at some point, they need to swap. They need to move. And those pathways are not there at the moment. And I'm saying we need to fix those pathways, because these are fantastic kids. There's a misnomer that the champion is the one who's worked the hardest, the rest of them haven't worked with grit and determination, you will break it. Of course, it doesn't happen that way. I've seen enough of it. I think these are very good fairy tales when very few people cross the line. But the reality is that failure is a reality. And in sport, if 100 people were to play, one is a champion, 99 of them will lose. Whereas in academics, you can say that, because if 100 write an exam, all 100 can get 100% mark. But in sport, the nature of sport is that if you play a competition or if you have a race, one will win, 99 will lose. That's the nature of sport. Having known that this is the nature of sport, let's address it there's nothing like a tipping point. It's just that it's been there for a long while. I raised it 4 years ago, and I've been raising it at all meetings possible with various stakeholders. But every year, the next Olympics is important. The Commonwealth is important. Like this year, we are still setting up our committees for the next year. And then next year is Asian Games, Commonwealth, and next year is Olympic preparation and Olympics. And before you realize, we are only talking short term. And this is a long term systemic issue which needs to be addressed. And normally.
So in these 4 years, I've got to ask you this. In these 4 years, you've met various stakeholders. Is this also a call for the public and the private sector to walk the talk, Gopi? I mean, it's all good when you go on social media, someone wins a medal, you hail them, you praise them, and you say, wow, great, you've brought laurels to our country, we're proud of you. But then, they're being unable to create a space for some of these athletes to, possibly work with them, to give them jobs, to have some kind of security for their future.
Well, I think at every level, and again, I think it should not remain alone with jobs. When we go to work in an organization, we are not inducted there knowing what the organization structure is. The boss doesn't know how to treat a sports person. We don't know how to treat our bosses. That induction is not happening. So there's a deficit in that equation. We are not motivated because when we are playing, we are supremely motivated. After that, we are not don't find purpose in a job which feels very mundane. So I think it's very important that we actually inspired athletes to actually find motivation post their sporting careers in things which they are liking it. So we need mentorship there. We need education because a lot of us have not gone through regular schooling, and our education is happening on the field. We might take a lot of decisions on the field which are very smart, but in a business environment or in a financial environment, we may not be adept to it at that moment. So we need training on that front. So skilling, educating, jobs, respect for sports persons to realize that, boss, these are guys who actually burnt their most productive years when everybody else is studying and building their financials or security for their next 30 years. These guys have actually spent that in training and playing for the country. They're always representing somebody. So let's give them that due and let's handhold them is what I'm talking about.
You're a champion yourself, Gopi, a coach, a parent whose kids are whose kids play sport. I mean, I've got to ask you this: define your mindset in these three different roles.
Player, there is only plan A. You have to think that you are going to be the world champion, no matter what. If the world thinks that you are not also, I think you have to believe, you have to know that you are the champion. That's what an athlete should be doing. Each one of those 1,000 people should be thinking that I am the champion and I'm going to be the next Neeraj Chopra. I'm not next Gopichand or Saina or Sindhu or Pranay or Satvik Chirag or Laksh. I'm going to be the Manu Bakar and I will be ruling the world. That's what the athlete has to think. As a coach, for me, it's important to inspire the kid to actually tell him that it's possible that he is and he has the potential. But also as a coach, it's important for me at some point of time in his career to tell him what the reality is and then be the guiding force for him to suggest to him that it's okay to fail and not be the champion, but he is a champion in his work ethic and it's okay to not win. He's lost because of other factors, but not because he's not tried. So let me be compassionate with him as a coach is what I would think. As a parent, I want to be the fans of my kid and cheer them loud and share their happiness and be their support.
Very well said. And it's at the right time. You said you've written this article 4 years back and nothing's been done. And of course, all the stakeholders look at what can we get out of it. You know, it's almost like what is your return on investment, and they look at Olympic cycles, they see how many medals we can win in Commonwealth Games, Asian Games, you've seen it all. But it's the right time. We've got the kids into playing sports. What next? How can we ensure that they have a secure future after having played the sport? Gopi, you've always fought for the cause and for the right cause. Thank you so much for doing this, and you've been doing this for far too long. I remember interviewing you and you said you'd started the academy in 2003 in a camp which had some of these brilliant players who've gone on to become champions, and this fight has been on ever since, from the time you mortgaged your house to start an academy to, I don't know, so many other challenges that you've dealt with. Thank you for doing this, and I'm with you on this, in this fight. I hope the powers that be are listening and something is done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Meha. Thank you so much.
Well, Pullela Gopichand gives us a lot to think about in that interview. So much needs to be done now that we've got the kids in and they want to play sport. What next in case they don't make it? Where is their future? Do we have any security over the future of our kids if they take up sports? With that, it's time for us to end this bulletin. I'm completely out of time. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.
मैं और आप, हम अलग कहाँ हैं?
Gill on 199.
अपनी अपनी मंजिल पर हम दोनों की नजर है, और उसके लिए हम जी जान लगाकर मेहनत करते हैं। पर कभी कभी
He's out on 199.
मेहनत और मंजिल के बीच रह जाता है एक फासला। खैर, मुझे उस फासले को मिटाने के लिए थोड़ी और मेहनत लगेगी, पर शुक्र है आपके पास है टाटा कैपिटल, जो मिटाए फासले आपकी मेहनत और मंजिल के बीच। टाटा कैपिटल, मिटाए फासले।
Every brand tells a story, and they are the storytellers, the Sutradhars. They present a brand with band, baja and barat to you. They are the Brandwalas.
What is to the nines? In literal terms, it's perfection. But to us, it's not just a phrase, it's an attitude. One that starts at your desk and sends a statement to the world. To the nines is about taking charge. It's a way of life